Hello, welcome to the Dire-Rie of a Sane Black Woman. I'm Marie, your host, and today I want to actually react to a video that I saw. I think it's been 2 or 3 weeks now. And it's a video that Judge Faith, most of you, I think a lot of people know who Judge Faith is. She's a judge, she has a show. And she was actually targeted for a few months now based on what her video said. And I'll play a few of the segments of the video that she actually posted on her website. But I wanted to talk about it a little bit more also. So one of the reasons why I'm actually doing commentary on this and doing a reaction video to this is because it hits home, right? I'm a targeted individual, and to see that Judge Faith, as a celebrity judge, as a legal figure, she was targeted. She was targeted, and I think the good news is, she was able to actually find out who the perpetrators were. And we'll see this in some of the clips that I'll share, but also, please do watch her full video on her page, and I'll link it in the description section so you can actually go to her page and watch the full video. So what actually happened to Judge Faith? So what happened to her, it wasn't just gossip, right? It was digital warfare, but it was actually, she was being targeted, and for potentially a variety of reasons. We can't say, I can't say I know why exactly she was targeted, but she did bring up some very important facts during her video. Some of the things that she brought up, some of the people that were targeting her. While I think the person that started the whole smear campaign was located in the U.S., a lot of the perpetrators were actually located outside of the U.S. There was also another pattern that she described and that she also showed on her video, which is that a lot of the other people that were being targeted by these platforms were also other Black celebrities. So it seemed like there was like a campaign against whether it be Black celebrities to basically defame them. And so that seemed to be the objective of these platforms. So, I just want to be clear here. What happened to her, it wasn't just a celebrity scandal. It was obviously a digitally coordinated assault, on her character, on her marriage, and on, her overall livelihood, right? Essentially, that's what people do when they try to target you and they try to defame you. So, what exactly happened? So in Judge Faith's video, Judge Faith Jenkins and Kenny Lattimore, they're married. They were targeted by anonymous YouTubers who apparently used AI-generated courtroom documents, fake audio, as well as slander to basically fabricate a false narrative about their marriage. They stayed silent. Not out of fear, but out of strategy. And so they were able to gather receipts, subpoena data, and build a legal case around what actually happened. Now, they filed a defamation and harassment lawsuit and publicly named the perpetrators. This proves that social media is not anonymous. Your actions can be traced. And what was meant to silence them became a platform for justice. And let's not miss this. They targeted a judge, a Black woman, a symbol of justice. And I don't believe, that was random, especially based on what she showed on her video. It was all part of an agenda.
from lies, and we expose why Black public figures are being targeted by fake news gossip channels online. Some of these people were in the US, some of them weren't even in the country, and every single one of them thought they would never be found. Today, we name them. This is the truth about the people who harassed and defamed my husband and I online.
So there you have it. You have the first clip. She basically gave you an overview of what exactly happened. And now I just want to pause and just kind of think about why someone would do that, right? Why do people do that in general? Outside of the fact that they're actually being paid to do it, right? We saw that, right? People are being paid. Basically, they're monetizing people's pain. They're monetizing the lies. They're monetizing the gossip. And so it's an incentive for them to continue to do it, especially if it's going viral, especially if people are clicking. They have no reason to stop. But I think one of the other main reasons why people think that they can do this or continue to do this is because of, I guess, the quote unquote anonymity that they think that they have as it relates to doing things online. And so imagine the audacity of, targeting a judge. The people, they had no limits, no conscience, just code and cruelty, right? I often get the question, well, Marie, why would they target you? Why would they do this? Why would they do that? I mean, outside of the fact that, people sometimes they're hateful, they, whether it's racially charged or they hate you for whatever other reason, or, there's jealousy or, envy or any other thing, or maybe you may have offended the person, unknowingly, or even knowingly, something that you thought was minor that they made a big deal out of. And I think sometimes there's a lot of misunderstandings that happens of why people are being targeted. And sometimes, look, I think you can't really put a reason as why someone is targeted, because if someone wants to target you, they'll find a reason or they'll make up a reason to target you. And I don't believe anyone should be targeted. And so in this situation, I think one of the reasons why potentially she was targeted, outside of the fact that it seems like a lot of these perpetrators were targeting Black celebrities, I think is because, she's popular. They think that they can get away with it. So, being anonymous and being behind your computer screen, hiding behind your keyboard, I think that's the other thing. But also, I think a lot of the people that were doing this, their platforms were outside of the country, and so they thought that they would not be able to get caught, and so they felt like, well, okay, from a legal standpoint, they can't come after me, and or my page is anonymous, and so I don't have a face to my page, so they don't know who I am, so forth and so on. That didn't stop the judge, though. And, this was just beyond trolls, right? So they targeted a Black female judge, someone who represents law, order, and dignity, right? And so we know that trolling is all part of it too, right? But this was beyond trolling, because as you'll see in the video, she spoke about how a lot of the things that were basically being said about her, like a lot of the gossip and things that were being spread, now when you did a Google search, they were coming up as fact now, right? Just because of how the algorithm was manipulated. And so, that's very key. That's how dangerous, starting a rumor and just basically running with it and no one essentially putting a stop to it, how that can actually hurt someone, hurt their reputation, hurt their career, and so forth. Thankfully, Judge Faith, she's a public figure, she's a judge, and so she knew exactly what to do in order to, tackle this. But most people like myself, I don't know, the ins and outs of how to actually tackle this, right? I've mentioned before, like I've tried to go to the police, I've tried to go to the authorities, but I'm happy and thankful that she was able to not only go after them, but she was able to document it, right? And basically to give us a blueprint to a certain extent of what we should do should we come across something similar. And so, Judge Faith, in this next clip, she points out that celebrities are being disproportionately attacked. And she also basically shows that it's not a coincidence, right? It's coordinated. So essentially, as I mentioned before, people think that they can hide behind fake names and monetize the lies. And but fortunately, the internet leaves a trail, right? So that's fortunate and unfortunately, right? Because people can use that to weaponize a smear campaign against you as well, right? And so with the AI tools, the deep fakes and the voice cloning, those things were essentially used to fabricate quote unquote evidence, and that she was actually getting a divorce and that her relationship was in shambles, and which it wasn't. It was just basically an effort to sabotage her and her marriage. So she also shows that the system rewards outrage, not truth, right? If you're trying to put out truth, if you're trying to put out good news, doesn't really get the clicks. People want to hear salacious gossip, malicious gossip, whatever it is. They want to hear it, and they entertain it. And so, unfortunately, these platforms, they profit from the slander. And so we know that this is more than gossip, right? And because of that, I think it's time that we call it what it is. This is a spirit of sabotage, and, it's cloaked in code. And, people think that they can just get away with it. And I won't even get into the spiritual aspects of this, because I've already mentioned before in other videos that how technology can be used as a spiritual weapon as well. And so let's check out this next clip.
The day that YouTube decided anyone could monetize views was the day the race to the bottom began.
Well, but why is that? I mean,
because I want you to think about this. Gossip is more entertaining than the truth. Scandal sells. Being happily married doesn't get views. Creating controversy does. So anonymity plus money is the perfect storm for people who, with no character or integrity, who are willing to say anything. Here's the good news. Google did not fight us on the subpoena. We sent in the requests, and in about 45 days, they produced everything we requested and notified the uploaders their identifying information would be turned over to us unless they objected in court. And so when that production arrived, for those who this, the day that YouTube decided
can be.
So after we found the source of how it all started, Black Celeb News, Willie L. Laney Jr., we looked into the other accounts that basically took this salacious commentary and ran with it.
Yeah. What shocked me the most was that it wasn't just who they were. It was who they pretended to be, hiding behind names like Black Tea or Urban Gossip, posing as insiders from our community. But, when we looked a lot closer, they really were nowhere near the culture that they were profiting off of. can be.
So after we
All right, so there you have it. So I think that the beginning of justice is, exposure, speaking out, documenting, and then we need to legislate, right? Technology is moving so fast. AI is moving so fast that our laws can't keep up with what is happening. The law enforcement can't keep up. Most police stations, most police officers, they aren't trained on cybersecurity. And, I had a conversation with someone who's a cybersecurity expert, and he was actually describing, like, and he actually trains people in cybersecurity, how even like the top notch, if I'll just say, within like the federal government, like the top notch people that are trained in cybersecurity, they're only trained for like a few months. It's not like they don't have like extensive training and knowledge in cybersecurity. And so there is a gap there, and that needs to be filled. Right. I think we need to, as much as we need to advance in technology, and we want to be number one, and we want to use all this stuff, but we need to also create laws and regulations around it. I think so. We need laws around it. And then I think also the platforms also need to enforce certain guidelines around what people can and can't do, especially when it comes to defaming someone, creating malicious code, malware, and stuff like that. I mean, most platforms, they do have certain things that when you're joining their platform that says that you agree that you're not going to do XYZ, people click and say they agree, but they still go on to do the unthinkable, right? And so I think maybe it's not so much that there aren't rules around it, but maybe there needs to be more controls around manipulation, whether it be a network manipulation, data manipulation, and a lot of other different things that are now happening because we are more than ever connected across the globe with technology. So, as we're going to see, and as we saw in the last clip, is that they came for a judge, they came for her marriage, but now justice is knocking. And so, thankfully, she was able to not only get a subpoena to basically have the platform release the names of the people that were hiding behind these anonymous accounts. She was able to locate most of them. She was able to provide their names. The case is still active, so she was limited to what she could share based on what her attorney stated in the actual case. But that being said, I think that is a very good start. And I think, again, speaking out, documenting things like that is so important because you might think you're the only person going through it, but like there are so many other people going through it and they're basically suffering in silence. And, I think she pointed out there were a lot more celebrities on those platforms basically being targeted by these malicious lies. And she's the only one, at least that I've seen, come out and say, okay, this was happening and this is what I did. So I thank her for documenting this and, essentially giving us more or less a blueprint of how to go about a situation like this. It proves that justice is possible, even in chaos, or even, if it's online targeting. So I think the one thing that is probably a little different for me is that a lot of the um a lot of the people that have been targeting me, and the malware, the malicious code, and things that they've been using to target me uh is being done more covert, right? They're not, at least from what I can see. I know there's been it's been alluded that there are certain things that are online, or things I haven't come across them, and I don't know where these things are or where they're being shared. And so I think that's what makes it a little harder for me to go after the perpetrators, because um, at least to the best of my knowledge, I'm not seeing anyone outwardly posting something, and outwardly saying that, okay, this is Marie, or this is about Marie. Where in this situation, they were, outwardly calling, Judge Faith out and her husband. And so that made it a lot easier for her to go after them. But, obviously they called her name out intentionally, right? Because that's how they got the clicks, and that's how they were able to monetize in that situation, right? But I think in addition to the steps that Judge Faith has taken, she also called out the platforms, right? She asked them to do better and not to allow, people to hide behind their platforms, behind the algorithms, and try to abuse it just for the purpose of monetizing. And so I think as a whole, um, as I mentioned before, we need more. We need platform policies, but we also need legislation. We need legislation. We need platform policies, and we also need people that are in, like, either law enforcement or some other type of, I would say, legal role, to actually be trained in these type of scenarios, because we're going to see more and more of these attacks, and I just don't think that we're equipped. We're not equipped. Our the law enforcement, people that are supposed to be able to defend us, they're not trained. They don't know how to identify these things. They don't know how to do the proper research. And to be perfectly honest, a lot of cybersecurity experts don't really know either, because a lot of these things are so new. And so a lot of them, they're just kind of like, oh, I never heard of that before, or this is new, or how is this happening? And so there just needs to be a lot more awareness, more training around just cybersecurity as a whole, but also the different types of attacks that are currently being launched against people in this day and age. So I think we need laws around AI generated defamation and impersonation, AI generated video surveillance or targeting, things of that nature, malware, malicious code, scripts that are malicious, and to be able to track and actually hold these people accountable. Also, coordinated harassment, right? As I mentioned, in any other crime, if someone was an accessory to the crime, they facilitated the crime, they are also accountable. They are also accountable for that crime. So if you're someone that is essentially facilitating the data extraction, you're facilitating information that is not intended to be consumed by the general public, you're facilitating that consumption, and you're knowingly doing that, whether it's just by you coming by someone's house, in my situation, to facilitate that. You're on the phone, you're texting someone, or you have certain devices to do that. Yeah, some people, they're an accessory, and some people, they're actively, breaking the law. And so, I mean, this is just one of probably many other stories, not only for celebrities, but for the average person. Like, I've seen a lot of other videos of targeted individuals. I didn't realize that there were so many people being targeted. Now, while I've mentioned this before, while there are some trolls, there are a lot of people that are actually being targeted in different ways. And now technology makes it a lot easier for them to not only target you, but to monitor you. And so I think this video that Judge Faith has put out at least gives individuals a blueprint, especially if your information is clearly being published online. And they're specifically sharing, doxing you, sharing personal information about you, your name, or making things up. You can actually go after them. And this, she basically lays it out on how you can actually go after these people. And so I think that's important. I think in a situation like mine, I think there's still like that gray area in how to actually go about it. But I'm hopeful that, I will get closer and closer to basically not only identifying the perpetrators, but to actually be able to get recourse and to stop it as well. And again, I have linked the full video by Judge Faith in the description box. So if you want to go and check it out, and you should definitely go check it out. It's in the description box, right? So again, this is the Dire-Rie of a Sane Black Woman. I'm Marie, your host, and I will see you soon.